Welcome back to the DeliveringMore platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. Thank you so much for your continued viewership morning, afternoon, and evening. We appreciate it. As always, if you could hit that subscribe button down below, that's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have another fantastic episode of the DeliveringMore podcast to bring to you folks today. I have with us a gentleman who I met in person on site at Food on Demand 2024 a couple months ago in Las Vegas. He's the founder and CEO of the on-demand company, Ray Ali. What was your time like at the University of California? Would that have been right around when Aaron Rodgers was playing football there? Is my timeline right, or is that a little before or after? Do you know?
Think it's a little before. I'm not sure, but I remember a lot of college, but I don't remember a lot of anything besides what I did in college. I had a lot of fun. I actually got really lucky. I had to focus on my studies because I did get a full scholarship there. So keeping up my grades and maintaining it was very important to me at that time, from what I remember. But don't get me wrong, have some fun times in college.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you ever consider getting out of the state to go elsewhere? Did you apply to the University of Cal, got in with the scholarship, and you're like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
I got into a lot of schools that accepted me. I didn't really go out of California because I wanted to stay close to my family. Uh, but at that time, my parents couldn't really afford to send me to school, and I didn't really understand financing. I didn't really understand how loans worked, and I was scared to put myself into debt at that age. And I got an opportunity from UC Riverside to get a full scholarship, and I really, at that age, was just ecstatic. Like this could be the beginning of my life, and I don't have to go into financial debt to get in there. So that was a big impact that helped me get to where I am today because of the simple fact that I was able to get there without having to put myself into debt or my family into debt.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something I wish I would have considered a little bit more in my time, still paying off some of those loans to this day. And you kind of mentioned being unfamiliar with loans and how they worked in that time. But then out of school, you kind of get into what I would call like the loan business. You go through a couple companies, and that's what you do post grad. So what was that side of life like? What was life like immediately after college?
So immediately after college, I really wanted to follow the dream of owning my own home. And owning my own home, I knew I couldn't pay cash for it, but I really wanted to understand the loan perspective behind it. And the only way I feel like I could learn about the loan perspective behind homes was to get into the loan business and to really understand and comprehend it. And to be able to not just get a home myself, but help others. And that was always my dream to help others. And helping others out always found my way and learning how I can be a part of that. So that was my dream out of college to own a home. And I thought the best way to get there was through loans and learning that and growing in that business.
Yeah, that's intriguing. I think I just bought my first home at the end of last year in October. Interest rates obviously a little high at the time, but I got in there at a decent rate. It's not the worst, not the best. But what did you learn in your time there? Did it help you be able to purchase your first home? Did you end up meeting that goal?
Yes. So congratulations on your new home, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, not only did I learn how to buy my own home, I learned how to buy investments, but I also learned a lot more about business. And it changed my whole perspective about life, about how, businesses worked and how marketing and how the entire structure worked. And I had really good mentors that taught me a lot. And I'm very, very thankful for having that part of my life and being able to learn from there.
Awesome, awesome. Any mentors of note? Anyone you want to shout out while we're here?
One of the people I remember very well was Michael Guazan. He was a mentor that just was by my side, and more than anything, he helped me the right way and the right path. It's easy to give up. it's hard to work and make it work. And he taught me the true value of hard work by not just telling me to do it, but actually doing the hard work himself and being present. And it was something that I still have today. And I'm proud to talk about it in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, what that leans itself to, I always see this picture. You might be familiar with it. There's this guy like he's like a diamond miner or something, and it says like you're like when you quit to the journey, and it shows the diamonds are like his next strike, like in front of him, and then there's one guy who's like still working at it, and he's already hit it because he kept going for it and kept kind of persisting and actually battling through all the adversity to actually get to what their end goal really was.
Yeah, giving up. There's no choice here. We can't give up. We don't give up.
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. We don't give up. I love that. I love that. And then how do we get out of the loan business? I know. I mean, corporately, Darian, our CEO and president, we always kind of joke around. You know, he went out of college and kind of went to this corporate lifestyle, 9 to 5, selling, salesman kind of side, and he really hated that side of the business. I, out of college, worked for a company called TQL, selling freight logistics and things like that. I'm not really much of a salesman myself. And then we kind of all end up here at Deliver That, building this business with our friends in the restaurant industry, food delivery space. What was it like getting out of that side of the business for you and into the restaurant industry?
At that time, I actually had to get to help my family. My dad owned a small market in San Francisco, and he wasn't able to run it any longer due to his health. It was time for me to step up and really help the family and learn something new. It was hard. It was hard. I think that would really shape me to the person that I am today. It taught me how to get out of this corporate structure and work on a small business where I can build structure and really be able to understand not just the business, but people. The most important part where when you're in a corporate world, you're dealing with corporate people, corporate employees. But going into a world where, hey, they might not, people in this business might not have an education. They're hard workers. They might not even communicate the same language you communicate. There's barriers, but the opportunity and really learning and being able to help them and help the business grow and learn was life changing for me. And actually, that's where I was actually able to take my small market, this business that uh, it wasn't thriving, it was barely surviving, and really shaping it up. And I learned a lot about consumers, right? Which is in marketing, which is the most important part of any business because you could have the most amazing products, you could have the most amazing food, but if nobody knows about it, it's really hard to get products sold and sustain what you have without almost giving up. And what we said earlier, we don't give up, right? I learned that Yelp, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TripAdvisor were huge marketing engines. So I took a long time and learned from each of these. I actually signed a year contract with Yelp to advertise and to learn. And I advertised with all of them. It was a learning lesson. It was a hard learning lesson. The reason why is because they did what they were supposed to do. They got my business in front of customers and impressions and learning about my business, right? But that didn't relate to actual sales. So now I was in a situation where I'm spending money on advertising, but the sales in the business did not grow the way I needed it to. But it was a learning lesson, right? Because I got to learn a lot. I saw more consumers, and the consumers that did come in, they told me they saw my advertisement. I learned from them, and I just learned that there was no way for me to really calculate my return on investment. Then I got a chance and I got a pleasure to work with Postmates, then UberEats, and then Doordash and Grubhub. This changed everything. My small business, I was able to learn not just to list my business on these platforms, and mind, this is 2016. This is before the true UberEats, DoorDash, Grubhub craze, right? This is before that time, and I learned how to not only list my business on there, but how to actually thrive and list it to where it would turn into revenue and grow and learn how to be beneficial to getting to these consumers, right? I had a new opportunity here. This was going from me spending money on marketing and hoping to get sales to me listing and being able to control my destiny, right? And being able to list my pages on these platforms and taking advantage of their customers by looking at what they needed, by applying my metrics and my learnings for years and applying it on these platforms. And it was life changing. I was able to grow this business 300%. I've never made my dad more proud of my life. And I've never seen my dad happy to be like, I can't believe you did this. And to be able to do that was life changing to me personally, right? Because it's showing my dad, hey, dad, I can do this. And to myself, I can do this. And I will not give up. I can't give up. I won't. And now I was doing so well that I got an opportunity to be an all hands at Postmates, all hands at Uber Eats. This was literally coming from a corporate world. I understand what all hands meetings was, but to be featured on an all hands meeting by these huge platforms that had so much money, power, opportunity changed my entire perspective in life. And what happened after that was I had a lot of friends and family that saw my success and they would come to me and asking me for questions and saying, look, I can't do this. Can you do this for me? And when that happened, that's when the on-demand company was created with the goal of literally helping these businesses and these people get online and not just get online, thrive online, how to get business to the door, how to get customers to try your product without you spending hundreds and thousands of dollars up front just to have them see you and know you exist.
Yeah, that's unbelievable story. I think for me, the connotation to making your parents proud, specifically your dad proud, is like, yeah, I feel that like right in the heartstrings. That was crazy to hear directly from you to me, and hopefully a great story for all the listeners and viewership out there. And then something like interesting I thought was you mentioning all these marketing platforms you utilize and try to learn about, and you didn't necessarily know how to measure the results. And then when you begin to use these Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and you see the results start to flow in as you hope they always would, and you find that success, and now people are reaching out for your business knowledge and your acumen, and because they see the success that you're able to find for yourself, now they're wanting all the help and the reaching out, when previously maybe they thought, like a lot of times, like they think you're a little wild for the things you're trying out, and they think, hey, what is this guy doing? He's on these platforms I've never heard of. What is on-demand delivery? What is food delivery in itself? I'll just go pick up my food myself. Like, what are you even talking about? So at that time in 2016, when the market for food delivery isn't what it is today, like did you feel like people thought your ideas were a little out of place at the time?
Yeah, people were more focused on what they knew what to do, right? Treat their customer when they walked in. Actually, not, they didn't understand. And what I saw was the next level of convenience was right in front of us, right? Back in the day, 7-Eleven was game changer because it was a convenience store, right? You would go into 7-Eleven, you'd be in and out in 3, 5 minutes, right? You're not waiting in line there. You're going in and out, quick, quick, quick. That level of convenience that game is been updated, right? The new consumer today, they want the next level. They want to push a button on their phone and have it appear in front of them within minutes to an hour, right? And that convenience was game changing. And I saw that. And not only did see that, but I was a consumer that wanted that. So now being on both sides of this game and learning, not just as a business, not just as a corporation that would teach me, like Postmates, Uber Eats, DoorDash, they would be happy to teach people to grow on their platforms because that benefits them. And I got a crash course before this got big. And that crash course helped me to really help house hundreds of restaurants during the pandemic, which I'm truly proud to say to you today. I have restaurant owners that still call me today and they said, if it wasn't for you, we would not make it through the pandemic. So just that alone, it was eye-opening. But at that time, it was so hard to tell people and to show it to them. I could have the best PowerPoint presentation, but the people that I would try to explain this to didn't care. They didn't want to listen, right? They weren't into it. But now, if you look back and look at it today, you look at the opportunities at that time, and think about it. Back in 2016, and I'll go over this with you, is the amount of customers that were on these platforms, they weren't, there were a lot more consumers than there were businesses and restaurants on these platforms, right? So you see a ton of customers coming in, and that's 2016 before the government started pushing people to go to these platforms. So you had so many opportunities to close these customers that are in front of you that, only a few understood. And those few that understood, I was able to help them really, really grow their business. And you see it. People would call and they would say, I think I need to hire another person because of the amount of business that you're able to generate here. And I can't tell them what to do because I don't know what's going on in their business, their situation. But all I hear is more business and more revenue coming in, right? How they wanted to take that business at that time was their option. I couldn't navigate them to success because this was so new. What if it was going to stop? And that was their worry, right? So they were just like, just do as much as you can while it's coming in, over coming up with long-term goals and perspectives and objectives, right? I'm a long-term, goal-minded person. I want to look at your 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year. I want to look at your abilities of what your plans are, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the mom and pops that I love, they didn't care for a 3 year plan. They didn't care for a 5 year plan. They cared for, hey, I have a lease until 6 months, whatever it may be, right? They were there. I need to make as much as I can this time period. And if I do good, then I'll renew, right? They weren't thinking like our franchises, right? Our franchisees were like, well, I got a 10 year, I got a 10 year lease. We got to make this work. And this has to be something where we can't just get this today. We need to keep going. How do I grow in this? How do I get this? And the franchisees really didn't have any perspective on these platforms because the franchisors just said, you need to list it, right? You need to be listed on these platforms. But they didn't really come in and say, hey, this is how you be successful. This is what we can do. This is what we look at. These are impressions that we want to see. When I talk about impressions, I talk about the people coming into your store or looking at your store, right? If we were driving, if me and you were walking down the street and we're walking down Main Street, we walk by Papa John's, right? That's considered an impression, right? Because you're looking at it, right? So what we would look at is we would look at restaurants that had impressions on these platforms because you're listed. And now you can see how many impressions there were. Meaning some in a week, restaurants would have 500 impressions. Some restaurants would have 50,000 impressions. Now, looking at the ones that had 500 impressions, I would talk to the restaurant owners and I'd be like, look, listen, the opportunity for your growth potential is there, but it's not as big, right? You're not a huge delivery zone, right? There's just not the amount of customers that are willing to buy on these platforms that you can take advantage of and grow. Right now, the customers that were in 50,000 impressions, they didn't know this. They were looking at like, I only get 50 orders a week, Ben. Like, I don't care how many impressions you get. But then when I break it down, I show them, look, there's 50,000 impressions just this week. That means 50,000 people have looked at your store. Now, we take this to the next step, right? Well, out of the 50,000 impressions, meaning people that have looked at your store on these platforms, how many of them have clicked on your page? The click-through rate, right? Simple. Like, okay, we're out of 50,000, only 2% have clicked through my page. Okay, cool. Well, out of those 2%, how many ordered, right? What was your conversion? And how much was your bounce rate? Right. Now let's take a step back and let's look at how we can improve these numbers and these metrics. When you have 500 impressions a week, look, your opportunity for growth is not really there. When you got 50,000 impressions a week, Ben, and you have good food on these platforms, these are 50,000 impressions of hungry buyers that are ready to buy, not thinking about buying. Buyers, they're hungry. They're going to order from somebody now. They're the buyers. Your ability to close that on a digital platform with you doing nothing is not as good as somebody like myself that's going there, analyzing it, saying, hey, we need to change this hero image. We need to change the tags that you're in. We need to change your optimization. Look at what your menu looks like. Look at where it is. Look at how we're doing this. Look at the pricing, right? There has to be things that you have to look like to optimize on these third-party platforms and to really grow. It's not just a list and sell and all be good, right? There's a lot more management, there's a lot more love, there's a lot more time, there's a lot more effort that needs to go into these platforms to really be able to take advantage of what they have to offer.
Yeah, I think what you're saying to me is like, when you just kind of list it out there, pray the customers are going to come to you. You don't do anything to kind of make that fruitful. It's like you're just like planting a couple seeds in the ground and hoping it rains over the next week and that it grows, right? You're not going out there and watering the plant yourself. You're not clipping the leaves that are dying off to get the water to go to the roots at the top, things of those nature. You're kind of, just ignoring the needs of the plant that you've kind of put in that soil. So it's super intriguing point. I wanted to ask you began to kind of list there a lot of the things that you think restaurants maybe aren't doing or aren't utilizing on these platforms. Are there things you see specifically that you think, as you mentioned, the tags, the hero image, things of that nature, where immediately upon changing certain things, restaurants can change the click-through rate and the immediate engagement rate they're receiving on these platforms just by changing a few simple things?
I mean, it's not a few simple things, but yes. So what we'll do is we'll run a lot of A/B tests. And these A/B tests really give us the opportunity of looking at what's going on. So example, right? We work with restaurants and businesses that are able to really look at their impressions and see where the impressions are coming from. Example, there's one restaurant here in LA. I love them. It's a big name brand. I don't want to mention them, but I can tell you it's great food, right? They got 10,000 impressions coming at them a week, but they're doing 50 orders a week, right? They got 10,000 impressions and they got a good brand, they got a good name, they got everything. We ran A/B tests on them to where we got their 10,000 impressions. We got it to 18,000 impressions by putting them in the right tags, right? It took a while. It didn't happen overnight. It took a while, but we raised that to 18,000 impressions. We went from a less than a 2% click-through rate to an 8% click-through rate. And we went from a 20% conversion rate to where they actually ordered from the amount of people that looked at the page to close to a 42% conversion rate. We can't get to 100. That was been my goal. Every time somebody clicks on it, they buy. That's the dream. Learning to get there is the goal, but learning the process, learning everything that goes with it. And it's so amazing because this is food. This is an emotional experience. This is not a transaction of a Coca-Cola, right? Or a bag of chips. This is food, hot food, right? This is an emotional experience that consumers are going to have with the brand, right? How do we make that not just a good experience at home, but when they're ordering on the digital platform? And what's the easiest to find, right? You got to think about it this way. If I'm a pizza shop and I'm only in the pizza category, well, I'm missing out because I'm only in the pizza category. What about fast food category? What about the American category? What about burger category, right? The reason why I say this is somebody looking for a burger, all of a sudden they see some pizza, it's like, you know what? I'd rather have a pizza over burger. But you're getting consumers coming in through the funnel, right? All you're doing is you're trying to find where all the consumers are going and getting them to see your page. Now, they see your page, they're going to remember if it was a good experience or bad, right? And that experience is an emotional experience because it's food related. So either they're gonna have, oh, dude, that was the best food I had, or I'm willing to try it, right? It all depends on the experience of what your ability actually giving them what they want. When they go to these platforms, they're not here to order. They're not here because Uber Eats is going to give them the best food, right? They're here because Uber Eats is going to deliver the best food to them for what they want. It's a marketplace, right? These platforms are building this to make it easy. But at the end of the day, the food is what gets the consumers to come back. The brand that offers the best foods consistently, and not from kitchen to table, from kitchen to your door. And that's a 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, maybe longer process. But to a brand, to a restaurant, it shouldn't matter. They should figure out how I can get this food to stay warm and have that good experience, no matter if it's 30 minutes to an hour. What kind of packaging can I do? What can I do to make sure that when my food is cooked here and is delivered to Ben, he's going to have that phenomenal experience as if he was sitting here right in front of me.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned like putting a pizza place in different tags and different categories, for me personally, it's like a ton of pizza places I order from, I get a sub from, or I know they also have like the best wings in the area as well. So putting them in categories where it's not necessarily the if it's John's Pizza Shop, yeah, you're known for the pizza, but you also have great side dishes. You have chicken and JoJo's, you have French fries. Like to offer those other items in those other categories as well, I imagine is something you can do to kind of accentuate that visibility on those platforms. And I wanted to ask this too, pretty candidly, as you mentioned, the emotional experience with food and how important that is for these individuals. The restaurants in our vantage point and between our two companies, I imagine, should be focusing on creating that food, and that's what they should keep in-house and internally. And something that I thought was similar to our businesses is deliver that. We are the food delivery service provider, and we want to take all that stress of the delivery process off that restaurant. So you focus on getting the ingredients, making the food, collecting the customers, and we just take care of the delivery. You don't have to send out your kitchen line staff. You don't have to send out a manager. You don't have to call in the owner of the store to go deliver that catering order. It's us. We're going to be there. We'll show up for you and deliver that product however you've created it in the best way humanly possible. And I think your service offers a similar experience where you say, hey, you focus on food, we'll do the marketing, we'll handle the platforms, we'll get your visibility out there. Is that how you feel about the on-demand company?
100%. And I've learned this and I've seen this the hard way, where a lot of restaurants, they do too much, right? They're getting away, they're a logistics company, right? Then they're a staffing company. You know what I mean? There are so many different companies than what they are. They're a restaurant, right? I come here for the food. If we can focus on the food and we can make the best food around, nobody's going to be able to compete with you because you got what it takes. You got the food, right? Once you have the good food, and if you could just focus on just making that not good, but better and better, and that's all your focus is, guess what? We can sell millions of these things, right? We can sell so much of this in your area, in your 3 to 7 mile radius, that nothing else matters. All that matters is I'm going to go and advertise. I got the best food for you in town. You got to try my burger. And when they try that burger, they respond and say, Ben, this was phenomenal. Thank you. Right. And then that's a customer for life. They're going to repeat order from you as long as they remember you and they see you. Right. People tend to forget things, but when you see something and you have an emotional experience with it, and it's a positive emotional experience, they are coming back again and again. Even for anything that you look at, if you have a good emotional experience with the food, because that goes directly into your body, that goes something into what you enjoy, and not just by yourself, with your family. As humans, we eat 3 times a day minimum. I eat a little bit more because I like to eat, but I mean, I don't have the time to cook, right? I'm at work, or I'm doing this, or I got the kids. There's always something going on, but I want a good meal, right? And if I can make sure that my kids and myself and my wife are going to have a good meal, and I can push a button on a phone, and it's going to be a good experience. We're going to have a good dinner. it's gonna be on point. Like we're gonna be happy. My kids are gonna be happy. They're gonna eat some good food. I can spend that time with them. I get to enjoy. It's life changing, right? Everybody remembers good food, and and that's the experience that we want our restaurants to really focus on. Wow, we take care of everything else.
And I think something else you said earlier on was the expectations of delivery being instantaneous at this point, when in reality it can take 30, 45 minutes to an hour. So to ensure that the food you're offering externally does travel well, the packaging holds heat or holds the coolness or it keeps the items fresh is super, super important. And while I feel like a lot of these restaurants, a lot of the discussion is around keeping things in-house and first party apps, first party delivery, things of that nature. But something you said, as I mentioned, you and I met a couple months ago at Food on Demand. We were having this super intriguing conversation where it turns into this podcast episode and this relationship we have moving forward. But it's something you said that it was super intriguing to me, and you said it so passionately in the moment that I was like, holy shit, like I got to talk more to this guy. You said something along the lines of everyone is focused on converting to first party, but what they should be focused on is utilizing the third parties correctly. I believe it was something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But could you just expand more on that thought process and in that moment, how you felt and why you said something like that?
Of course. Well, I truly believe that first party is a good option, but you got to think about it. On a first party, you're competing against Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub for the same consumer, and you're focusing on that customer trying you once and maybe ordering again, right? And you're really focusing on you're putting money and effort into that. Now, these third party platforms, they're coupon cutters, right? Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, they're always giving away coupons, they're giving away deals to get people to order from you. Now, our brands need to focus on how to get in front of these coupons and use the third party platform's money to grow what they're known for, their food, right? Being able, there's, like I said, there's millions and millions of consumers ordering on these platforms every day, multiple days a week. Actually, DoorDash listed they did $20 billion in sales on the first quarter of this year, right? Today, we look at third parties as a necessity, as a necessary evil. What if we looked at them as a growth potential partner for growth, right? What if our brands that we work with, and I know this is possible, the brands that we work with are the number one brands on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub on their category, on their potential delivery zone throughout the country. Now, to be the number one food delivery, to be the number one brand that has the best food on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub, and these three platforms actually vouching for you and pushing you and saying, hey, our customers should try this because these guys are great at fulfillment. You're going to have a good experience. You're going to be able to say, my food is good in 30, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. But these platforms are looking at your metrics and they're getting to say, hey, I'm gonna vouch for this guy. This guy's, their metrics are good, their numbers are good. They're not gonna talk to the brand, they're not gonna work with the brand, they're just gonna look at data, right? Brands have this huge opportunity where there's so much data available, and that's what we pull, right? We have API access, we have relationships with these platforms where we get data and we're able to analyze this data to best win for our brands. And our brands are taking advantages because they're seeing the potential customer and being able to grow with it. And once again, on first party, you're spending money and not able to get the money that you want because you need to advertise. You need to throw your money at the wall to see what sticks, right? On third party platforms, you're not coming up with any money. You're able to use their money and use their customer to convert them into your loyal brand customer. And that's the huge, huge potential that there's an endless amount of. I can't tell you that any of our brands are maxed out, not even close, right? There's so much room for growth. And it's hard for me to explain that to people. I guess that's why I'm here today with you. But I'd love to show and work.
Yeah, and I'm happy to give you the platform to speak about it so candidly and so wonderfully like you do. It's amazing how passionate you get about the topic. And I love, obviously, anyone in the delivery space is a comrade in arms in my mind of things. So I appreciate it. Something I wanted to close out with, obviously, we've talked about the offerings you guys have in terms of how you provide to the restaurants on the third-party marketplaces. But something when I was going over the details of the on-demand company I thought was super intriguing, I wasn't aware of, is your virtual brand creator. And you have some logos listed on the website. Super intriguing. I know there's a lot of conversation about virtual brands are on their way out. Some are flourishing more than others right now, just kind of dependent on who you ask and what moment and how they feel in that kind of segment of time. But I just wanted to ask for you, I mean, what is it for you? How do you feel about the virtual brand space right now? What is it for you creating those spaces for these restaurants you utilize with? And something I thought you guys mentioned really well that you do on your website. You talk about using the menu offerings they already have and the ingredients and the kitchen space they already have to utilize those virtual brands, which seems like a no-brainer when you say it out loud, but a lot of the people who create virtual brands don't consider it sometimes, it feels like, or they didn't in the earliest days of it. So why is that important for you guys to make sure you're including the same ingredients and kitchen space when you're creating these virtual brands?
So we've been doing virtual brands for a long time, and I learned a lot from virtual brands. And virtual brands, the biggest opportunity there, especially 2016, 2017, all the way up to 2023, it was an opportunity of taking, like you said, a pizza shop, right? Where it was known for pizza and the name's pizza, John's Pizza, whatever pizza it is, right? It was a pizza shop. But this pizza shop, it made the best burgers in town. But they were known for their pizzas, right? Because they got big kitchens. Or they known for their halal chicken over rice. They're euros. You don't go to a pizza place and think about euros. You're like, that doesn't make sense, dude. I'm not going to do that. But now, if I create a virtual brand for them, get them into the right categories, get them the right menu that makes them look like specialists of just euros, and give them that actual page online, and then market for it, it turns out to be a great opportunity because the restaurant now is able to create whole new revenue stream just based on the stuff they already have. But highlighting it, catering it, getting it to the right consumer that's looking for it online through the funnel, right? They're going to go in online, they're going to type in euro, or they're going to type in whatever they want at that point, or that category that's going to get it in front of what they're looking for. And for you to have that picture or your storefront there and that virtual brand there to take advantage of that is huge, right? Because that's an extra incremental revenue. Now, since 2023, this year, UberEats, DoorDash, and Grubhub have been doing something different, right? They're stopping to allow as many virtual brands on their platform, and the reason for that is because all the way until the pandemic, we talked about this. There's an opposite problem where there's too many consumers and not enough restaurants. Well, now it's the opposite problem. There's too many restaurants and not enough consumers. And you'll hear CEO of DoorDash talk about this. Tony, he's very good at this. He wants to create that experience as if you were driving down the street and you see this restaurant and you remember this restaurant. You have an emotional experience with this restaurant and you want to order from this restaurant on his app, right? Which is on DoorDash. Now, think about it this way. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, they want to push the brand, right? The reason why I want to push the brand is because when you're an actual brand with a brick and mortar, an actual location in your city, you make an impact, right? I'll give you a fair example. In New York, I can't name the restaurant name because I don't want to. I got to ask him and all that good stuff, right?
I got you. I got you.
Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers is listed online, right? And now this young consumer orders from them, right? When they order from them, they remember Bob's Burgers, and then that food they got was an amazing experience. But they don't know what Bob's Burgers is. But when they're in the car, maybe driving with their parents and their dad, and they drive by and they see, and the kid says, Dad, that's Bob's Burgers. I had that. It was so good. And now you have an emotional experience with this location that you had tried on DoorDash, and you're different. You're able to go in and say, dude, I tried you delivered. I want to try it even more here. Right? You have that, you could do a pickup order from them. Now you could do catering from them. You could do so much from them because it's an actual brick and mortar. It's not a ghost kitchen. It's not a cloud kitchen. It's not a virtual brand. It's a physical place where you can have an emotional experience with, right? Not just on a digital platform, but be able to walk in and look at the restaurant and be able to have that front facing opportunity of ordering and being able to connect with this brand. So, yes, virtual brands are great. I love them. I still believe in them. However, we took away from what we believe is the growth opportunity, which is platform direct. And platform direct is helping our brands not just be good, be great. Because the great restaurants today, the great brands today that focus today, they're going to be great in 10 years. And they're going to be great on these platforms that have billions of dollars flowing through them.
Yeah, you said 20 billion in the first quarter. I think you said it's a it's ridiculous number to even say, like, verbally. Sounds absolutely ridiculous to even say something like that, but it's obviously factual and crazy when you take that in consideration. Ray, I don't got many more questions for you on my end of things. I know I did want to, before you get out of here, we're a catering delivery service provider. I want to at least get your insight on some kind of things. You mentioned restaurants and customers being able to get their catering offerings on these other third-party marketplace platforms. You got Uber Direct, Doordash Drive, those kinds of things out there. Obviously, you can't order directly from Deliver That. We're a white glove service, but what is your realm of thinking on catering right now in the industry? Obviously, everyone's of the opinion. I mean, we came from Food on Demand. It's an Easy Cater Growth Forum, massive catering marketplace, like multiple $billion increase. I think $100 billion industry by like 2030 or something like that. Well over it. So, I mean, where are you in the catering space right now? What's your thinking on it?
So our biggest focus has been, and what we've been extremely successful at, is turning our catering on for these third-party platforms. You're already there, right? How can we take advantage of the consumer that wants catering, that has multiple people that are already on these platforms? And now, similar to Easy Cater, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub, they have a work program where they work with companies, right? And these companies, they give their employees, whether they're in the office or offsite, the ability of ordering from these platforms with credits, right? You get $25 a day. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Whatever it may be. Or this office has a $3,000 budget on DoorDash this week. You don't use it, you lose it, right? And they want to be able to use it and be able to get whatever they need with a variety of different options. And it's a lot easier for the person ordering to order on Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub with that seamless experience, with that ability of knowing it's going to be tracked, delivered, and Uber Eats and DoorDash or Grubhub is going to be liable. They're going to take care of it, right? They have that ease. But now you're giving them the catering option. And you're giving them the ability of saying, hey, can you cater my entire office from your restaurant? And that's a yes. I didn't even know you could do that before until you advertised it and promoted it to me on these digital apps. And we see it. I mean, the restaurants that we actually list on for catering, they see growth. Not little growth, but these are usually they do 50 orders a week with an average order value of like 25 to 30 bucks. Now they're getting 3 orders of 500 bucks, $1,000, real money that's flowing through them, and they're not doing anything different. They're not having to deal with logistics. They're not having to deal with all the other stuff that comes with it. All they're doing now is, hey, we got to cook this, we got to get this ready by this time, and we got to make it a good experience, right? Because that's all that matters. But now you got another order that just came in that's ready, that's already purchased, that's ready to go. And a lot of the things that we forget is, like yourself, like uh, what we do is with delivery is you have a two-part ability of closing the customer or closing. As a restaurant, you got a customer that just ordered from you on the platform, right? You already got their money. Now you got this driver walking in, looking at your amazing food and your brand, and being live at the store. And usually when you're at restaurant, you're hungry. You look at the food, if it's good, like, hey, I want to buy two. Can I get something before I leave? Let me get this in the car on the way out. Now you have an opportunity to close another sale that person that walked in. So now you can double your revenue overnight. And you can really take that to go, and the restaurant partners that see it and that learn from this and imagine it, they take off. There's a crispy crunchy chicken. I love these guys, right? They're located in gas stations, but their food is amazing. So now a consumer orders from them on crispy crunchy chicken online, whether it be a catering order, a group order, or whatever it is, they order online. Now this driver's coming up to pick up the food, and he's like, "Hey, I gotta fill up gas." Perfect. I'm gonna go to this gas station that I gotta pick up food from. I'm gonna fill up gas. I'm gonna go inside, and I'm gonna grab the food. Hey, while I'm inside, I'm gonna grab something else. I'm gonna grab some gum. I'm gonna grab this, whatever it is. Now you got this buyer that would never come to your location without this order that was placed for them to come in there. So they're making money doing this, and they're getting their errands and stocks done and killing two birds with one stone. But as the business owner, you're looking at this as another potential option for growth.
And genuinely, I appreciate you bringing that into things up, because something we try to convey on our side of things a lot of times with these restaurant partners is these drivers coming to your store to take your deliveries. They have family, they have kids, they have children they're going home to. They're talking about their day, talking about how their delivery went with your brand. And when they show up to your customers, they're either, going to be your biggest cheerleader, or they might say the food was late because of this restaurant. The restaurant forgot the utensils. They forgot this item, that item. Or they could put a spin on things and talk great about you and say, oh, they're usually so good, this never happens, or I'll go back to the store and grab it for you because they can have it ready super quick. So when you're able to convey and build a rapport and a relationship with those drivers, it can really be a game-changing thing for that brand. So taking that into consideration when they do show up to your store is super critical, I think.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Awesome, Ray. Awesome. I appreciate you, man. I know this has been a couple months in the making, man. So thank you so much for getting the time scheduled to sit down and speak with me for a little bit, learn a little bit about you and the on-demand company. You guys are doing great things over there. So thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon.
Sounds good. You take care.